Okay, here we go again. One more good little discussion. We're going to talk about stress in training. So, combat is stressful. Self defense is stressful in real life. When someone approaches you and you are faced with a life and death situation, that's stressful. But when you train, it's usually not that stressful. You're usually out there having fun and shooting off a bunch of rounds and just, you know, it's a high five type thing. And hey, did you see those rounds go off and blah 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 blah. And so let's talk for a few minutes about how to have some more realistic training, and let's add some stress to it. When my daughter, as you notice, in a lot of her shooting, you probably don't get to hear me screaming in the background and making it stressful on her, but I'm usually causing high stress, trying to get her to feel a little stress during the exercise and the evolution so that when she does get in a bad situation that she will learn to go inside her bubble and operate well with the stress. So stress and training, how to add stress in the training. So there's a few ways. um, Discomforts is probably the first stressful thing when you're uncomfortable. If you go out to the range and it's either hot or cold, that's a comfort. Or maybe there's people there watching that you didn't want to be there and you want to just work on things, but yet all these people are watching. So that can start getting to be stressful. So your body is having stressors. So you're having discomforts, heat, cold. The next thing is exhaustion. If you're tired, then that's stressful. So a good way to get tired or exhausted is maybe take a 100-yard dash in one direction, a 100-yard dash back, then pick up your weapon and shoot. And try to work and control your body, your breathing, your heart rate, all that stuff while you're shooting after that run. So that can add stress. The other thing is time. Time can add stress. If you know you're in a time constraint, that adds stress. So one of the first things they taught us at Warrant Officer School was time management. You can do a lot of things in 10 minutes. You can do a lot of things in 1 minute. So, and in the world of shooting, it starts getting down to the milliseconds, the microseconds, and drawing, getting that weapon out of that holster in under a second, in under half a second, getting the first round on target in under half a second. You know, the one that usually hits first usually wins. So time is a big stressor, and it can add stress and help you with that. So the other thing is pain. Pain can add stress. If you're under pain, of course, like we talked about, you run 100 yards, you run back, your lungs are burning, your body's pumping, and it's kind of painful. So you're having to control pain, you're having to control your breathing, you're having to control emotions and things like that. So those can be stressful. So adding pain. Distractions are stressful. So if you're out shooting and there's music that you don't like playing, that can be stressful. If someone is constantly yelping at you, like, come on, shoot faster, move quicker, you know, watch that reholster, watch this, watch that, just constantly harping on you, that's a distraction. That's a stressor. So that adds stress. And, just comfort in general, as we talked about earlier, adds a lot of stress. So how do you, when you're out on the range, tell me in your comments below, how do you add stress to your training? Do you pour water over, take a water hose and wet yourself down so you're cold and wet and then go shoot? How do you add stress to your training? Because in combat, as we said, combat is super stressful. And you're out of breath, you're trying to get to cover. it's chaotic. You know, it's chaos. It's a controlled chaos. Um, your emotions are you're trying to get those emotions under control. I remember in flight school learning to fly the Apache, we spent a lot of time in the simulator. And in the simulator, it was always stressful. And there was always some type of problem or malfunction happening. You'd have an engine out. You'd have a fire. You would have comms go down. You'd have navigation tools go down. You would have hydraulic failures, all kind of stuff. Anything that they could set in motion in that simulator, they would give it to you. And then, of course, you're flying. You're trying to navigate, and it's usually nighttime. It's usually bad weather, and then someone's shooting at you, of course. Oh, and by the way, you need to shoot back. So all these things are stressors. And then when you get in the actual combat, it's like, okay, you're sitting there wondering, well, is the engine going to fail? Is it going to get a fire? Is it going to be a hydraulic line go out? I mean, is it going to have electronics failure? Navigation? What's going to go down? And nothing goes down. And you're like, well, this is kind of boring. And that's what you want it to be. You want the actual event to almost be boring because your training was so stressed, if that makes sense. So if you're out there listening, if you're listening to this, Rach, there's a reason Dad is stressing you out on the range and has stressed you out in a lot of situations because he knew life was going to be hard and you were going to need to be able to control your emotions, control your pain, control your thinking, your body, your movements, everything to be able to do what you need to do to survive and put rounds on target. So anyway, think about training, making your training as hard as possible, as stressful as possible, so that in reality, when things do go sideways and the shit show begins, that it's really not that bad on you. Okay? Good talk. Leave me some comments. Tell me what you think and how you increase your stress. And just let me know how your training's going, how your life is going. If you got some advice, please leave it. Don't be an asshole. I'll block your ass quick. I don't need subscribers. These videos are for my great grandkids to watch one day and go, hey, that's what my granddad was like. And it's for my kids that don't have time right now to see Dad and train and stress and things like that. They got busy lives. But this is how I can talk to them sometimes. I can post a video up on YouTube, and a couple weeks later they'll watch and go, oh, yeah, that's my dad. So anyway, if you're going to comment, be nice. Don't make snarky ass comments because, I mean, through YouTube, we can't slap the shit out of each other in YouTube. A lot of times people in the comment section when they're being assholes, they need a little adjustment, but it's YouTube, so the only adjustment I can get is block your ass. So anyway, go out and make your space, your family, your life, your team, and your children better.